I'm going to research for a book that I've read. I want to write an essay on the book. So the first thing I'm going to do is probably go to Google Chrome, I would imagine. Oop, I can't get there. Hold on. Right, yes I can. Okay, there we go. And the reason I'm doing this, it gives me a general understanding of kind of what I'm looking for. And the book name is going to be Caleb Williams. So I'm just going to do a general search for that right now and see how that works out. See what comes up with it. Now what comes up with it on the screen is the book, and it under Wikipedia is a good place to start. And the reason I do this, it just gives me a general overall rationale for exactly what I'm looking for. And well, like I said, it gives me the history and who wrote it and when it was written. And well, that's all valuable information to me. That's kind of where I start. And I can look up William Godwin from there, who's the author of the book, and that'll give me his information about when he was born and what other articles he's written, and it gives me an understanding of the time period he wrote in, and what the governmental consistency was for the book, because I know it's a book about political chaos in the period of the English Revolution. What would I do then? Let's look. I begin the research process because so I know what I'm looking for, and now I'm going to go back up a little bit and go back to my general search and kind of scroll down there and look and see if I can find anything else. eNotes is a good source for just a general research thing, and the reason I like eNotes is not only am I a member of that, but they give really detailed information, more so than most sources do, and they give a lot of good critical resources and all. And after I went there, excuse me, do I need to go there actually, or can I just tell you why I go there?
It's up to you.
Okay, all right.
You might want to actually go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can go to eNotes, and they're a paid source. It's a yearly thing, and it'll give you a general overall view of summary themes and the characters and the critical essays and analysis and everything you just need, at least I need, for an overall general view of what I want to write about. And from there, if I want to go to other sources, I'll go back, and I'll usually how do I do this? I'll go back to My Georgia Southern normally, and go to the library. Sonia, if I can find it on here, I will. It's different than mine. Oh, here it is. And there's the library. And I usually just go straight to Galileo. And the reason I do that is there's no sense of me going to the general library site and then having to go to Galileo anyway. And you can type in either the name of the book or the name of the author, and it'll bring you up. Let's see. Williams. And it'll normally bring up what the library has, or what the library has on the book, different book names, and it'll do a search for you, which is handy. Now on here it has a thing of class notes, and it has the book Caleb Williams, and the thing I like about that, it also gives you academic journals that have articles in them that talks about Caleb Williams and what uses you can use for that and sources. And if I can't really find what I'm looking for there, if I want to go more in depth with that, I can go back up to an advanced search and go with maybe Caleb Williams and put in William Godwin, who's the author, and what am I doing? I'm not used to talking and doing this at the same time. And William Godwin, and search that, and that'll normally bring up everything William Godwin has written, and it'll also give you different people like Burke and Godwin, and it gives you different resources that you can look into that uses Godwin as a sub-base or a subtitle. And well, like the thing that would be really good for me right here would be Extraordinary and Dangerous Powers, Prisons, Police, and Literature in Godwin's Caleb Williams. And because I know that Caleb Williams is a book actually about revolutionary tactics and the different impact that's caused by the prison system of England at that time, and it's also a Gothic novel, and if you look into prisons and police, usually you'll find the darker aspects of what that contains. It's got Judging Justice, Godwin's critique on judgment, and Caleb Williams and other novels. And then I'll usually sit down and take physical notes on all of that. Let's see. Well, like I said, I don't really always close my links. I just usually save them until I know I'm totally done with them. And on saving my resources, I'll usually write them down, or at home I have a double screen, and I'll do a Word doc on one screen, and then I'll just copy and paste all the resources that I need to go back and look at and the reasons I need to go back and look at them. And I find that really helpful because at my age you kind of forget a lot easy. So it seems to work out really well for me that way. And that's the way I keep up with the information that I locate. And if I do have other resources I need to check, then I'll physically go to the library. Well, sometimes I'll do the online library link, but I like to go physically to the library and get the reference people at the library to help me find sources, because they do a really good job of that, and that's their job. And I find they turn me on to things that I would never look at. And also, I can email my instructors a lot of times, and they'll direct me in the directions I need to go and what I need to look for. And one other thing about doing research, especially on your critical essays of books, is they'll have endnotes that will turn you on to a lot of different resources that you can check also. And a lot of your critical papers, I mean, that's a great source for other information you need to find, and it seems to work really well. Gracious, what else? I don't really understand what's a change of research term. What does that mean?
You already did it.
Oh, I did? Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
when you decided to search for the title of the
Right.
book, and then you search for the author of the
Right,
book.
right, okay. Sometimes you can search for subject, but like especially with Caleb Williams, since it is such a Gothic novel, you can look at a lot of Gothic resources and in the 18th century Gothic resources and time epochs is really important for that. And I, well, the next place I look for information is gracious. I don't know. I've looked a lot of places already. I think the best place to look. Well, like I said, I start my own search first, and then I add to that search and make it more complex. And I, between using online sources and the physical sources at the library reference desk, and instructors themselves, you pretty well cover a lot of area that way. I don't really know what else to tell you about that. At least that's everything I know to say. Okay? Should I just... Oh, go ahead.
You didn't do bad, see?
Okay, so I'm writing a paper for my FYE class on healthcare, and the first place I would go is I'd go to Word. I'd open that up and I'd get that all ready. And then I would go to Internet Explorer. And first place I'd honestly go would be Google. Then that's not Google, but I'm gonna get there. Alright, so then once I got to Google, I would type in healthcare and skip all these ads, and I'd click on the first one that says healthcare insurance marketplace, and this one doesn't look like it has any information on it, so probably gonna get out of there. And then I'd probably go to Wikipedia and get some information from this. Probably read about the first 2 paragraphs, maybe, if I make it that far. And probably just copy the first paragraph. I'd paste it there. I'd come back to that. Go back, and I would go to the second one, see if they have anything. This one doesn't look like it has anything really either. So I would get out of the United Healthcare one. Look for one that just says the information right up front. Which none of these really seem to do. Probably get a little bit more in depth here. Type in AIDS up top. Click on this one. This one looks... Nope. A lot of writing. Probably read through that. Probably use this one just because looks like it's informative. I'd probably use this. I'd copy this, bring it over to my Word document just in case I want to go back, use the URL. I post it up top just in case, or in case I need to set it later. Let's see if I can find anything else on it. Facebook, no. Don't want to do that. Healthcare centers, no. Affordable healthcare. There we go. And this is not helpful at all. But then I'll probably just come back here, back to Wikipedia. And I'll probably just get more of my information from here.
Okay, so I am going to open Google Chrome. And I am going to go to Google. I am writing a paper on gun laws in Georgia for a government class. So I am going to start by just typing in Georgia gun laws. And I am going to scroll through the links that are popped up to look for any kind of .org or government sites, which I think will have the most reliable information. And the first one that pops up is the NRA gun laws site, and I'm just going to kind of read through this site to kind of get an overview of the information that it has on it. And as I'm looking through this information, I'm just trying to figure out what kind of age you have to be able to carry or purchase guns. To see like what age you have to be for the different types of guns, whether it be a handgun or a shotgun, things like that. And typically when I'm doing my research, if I find something important on the website, I usually copy and paste it into a Word document along with the URL from the website. And I see here that Georgia has reciprocity with several surrounding states, so that if you do have a carry permit, it's allowed in those states. After scrolling through that website and not finding information that I'm looking for, I'll go back to Google and scroll through the links again to look for credible websites, again, like .org or any of those. And here's another one, georgiapacking.org, in plain English, which means it's going to be something that I'm going to understand while I'm reading it. And at the top of this page, since it says it's a layman's version of the firearm laws in Georgia, if I pull any information off of this site, I'm going to Google specific facts to try to find them from other websites to see if it is credible information before I include it in my paper. I think this is a good starting point for my research because it defines the different types of guns. And so if I wanted to narrow down my search for handguns or rifles, and I'll understand which ones they're talking about. And here is a topic with possession, which is something that I was interested in, as to seeing who can carry what kind of guns. And they've got it listed out into different sections. I'm just going to kind of read through this website before I start grabbing out any key information or key facts that I need, just so that I have a basic overview of what all is included. And here is a topic where it's talking about possession of handguns by minors. Minors being under the age of 18, and they are not allowed to carry in Georgia unless the following exception. So I'm going to read through this. And then as I'm scanning through this next session, and it's telling me the definitions of different sawed-off shotguns or rifle and machine guns. And these next sections tell me about registering firearms and purchasing firearms, all of which is relevant to my paper. And understanding this process of if you own a gun or if you want to buy one. And this page includes a link to another reference page that it's explaining the 2 laws in Georgia that regulate purchasing of firearms. So I'm going to click on this link. And it's going to tell me the page is not found, so we're going to go back. The next section is telling me about carrying weapons, and it gives me a short and long version, which I'm going to read through both, just to scan to see what information it has. And at the end of some of these paragraphs and lines, they have links with just numbers, which I'm going to assume are Georgia laws. So I'm clicking on it just to read through and see what it is, see what information is included, and it does. It takes me to the georgiapacking.org website again, where it lists out the code sections for the different laws. And these appear to be specific, and well, it says copyright 2012 by the state of Georgia, so I'm going to assume these come directly from the law that lists out all the details. I'm going to go back to the website I was on and just keep reading through this. My next section is places off limits to carry, which is also important in Georgia. If you're going to be carrying a gun, I think you need to know where you can and can't carry. So this would be another section in my paper that I would format out where you can and can't carry. And right off the bat, it formats it out, listing places that is against the law to carry in. And the way it's listed out is easy to read. And so I would copy and paste all of these into a Word document. And at the end of it, I'm also going to copy and paste the link where I found it, so that if I do use this information in my paper, I know where to go back to cite this information. And then again, this goes more detailed into where you can't carry. And I'm going to pass by this for now because I am not getting too detailed. I'm just kind of getting an outline for my paper. The next section is about weapons carrying licenses. And I'm going to read through this to understand the process of how to do that. And again, I'm going to copy and paste important information from this section into my Word document. And for now, this is just telling me that there's two types of licenses for carrying. And again, I'm not going to get too detailed, so I'm not going to copy all of the information that it gives, but just the overview. And I'm going to copy and paste the link again, and even though it's from the same website, I'm going to do the same link so that I know where that section came from.
Okay, hello. I'm going to be writing a paper on Beowulf for my world literature class. Um, the first thing I'm going to do is open a browser and go to Google. Let's see, google.com. Unable to connect to internet. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is go to Google. And I'm just going to start off really simple and just Google Beowulf. Beowulf. Wikipedia. I guess I'll go to Wikipedia first. Usually people don't like using it, but I really just go for like the reference links towards the end. So I'll scroll down. Citations, Robinson. What do you need to know about the epic poem? Okay, Wikipedia has let me down, so I'm gonna go back to Google. Then I'll try and be more specific. Beowulf and Grendel. Beowulf and Grendel. Literary analysis. Small. I don't want to send. Okay, change it again. Beowulf and Grendel. Biblical analysis. Let's see. Literary analysis between Grendel and Cain. Okay, so I'm going to this website called thehumanities360.com. And I feel it'll be pretty helpful because I do know that as far as Beowulf goes, the creature Grendel, he was supposed to be like a descendant of Cain from the Bible, but I'm not entirely sure why that was important, but it's kind of what the paper is about. In Beowulf, the relationship between Cain and Grendel is described twice. The murderous monster Grendel is described as descendant of Cain. Humanities 360. I don't really see where they got their information from. So try and find something a little more credible, I guess. Christian elements in Beowulf. Okay, this should be a good website. So .edu, Christian Elements in Beowulf. Throughout the story, Hrothgar, Beowulf, Grendel's mother. So this website looks like it's pretty good, and usually in this instances, I just either write it down, just take down some quick notes in like a Word file, or I just email the link to myself to read up on it later. And in the event that I just emailed it to myself, I'd just go ahead and close it out and start looking for another website where I could get some information from. Beowulf versus Grendel's mother. What characteristics does Grendel have that make him? A critical companion to Okay, so I'm about to change my search topic again. Let's see. This time I'll focus more so on Grendel. Grendel, biblical illusions. Cave, what is it? Grendel's Cave Biblical Illusions, brtom.org. Cave Biblical, Grendel says, so long ago, the universe has never been much. Do you want to change? That website wasn't helpful. What are the Christian elements in Beowulf? Okay. eNotes.com. Biblical. Biblical. So Google Scholar. Pretty sure that's a thing. Scholar.google.com. Then I'm gonna type in Beowulf biblical illusions. Beowulf and Christian allegory, hidden interpretation of Unfer. Cain's monstrous progeny in Beowulf Part 2. Christianity and theology in Beowulf. this isn't the whole book. Christian color, heroism and Christian awareness in Beowulf. During periods in Beowulf Christianity. Okay, so I found about 4 or 5 websites that I'm going to use, and I've emailed them to them. Well, I usually email them to myself, and then I'd go home, read through them, and that's when I'd start actually putting my research paper together. After I take a bunch of notes, highlight through it, and pull out the stuff that I feel would be important towards my topic.
writing a paper on financial CDs for a class in FYE. So I'm opening up Google Chrome and I'm gonna log into my Georgia Southern. And I'm gonna go to the library Galileo page. And then I'm gonna look for financial CDs, full text only and scholarly journals only, and search. And I'm gonna limit to full text and scholarly peer-reviewed journals. And then I'm gonna limit it to more recently, so I guess 2000 to 2014. And then I'm gonna open a Word document so that I can copy all the links into it when I get links for articles. So and I'm probably gonna change the search because this isn't working out too well. So I forget what CD stands for, so I'm gonna Google that. And certificate of deposit, so I'm gonna look up that because it's probably gonna work out better. And then I'm gonna go back to, oh, it already has the dates. So I'm gonna click on this article because it seems to be explaining what a certificate of deposit is. And it's from an academic journal, The Market for Retail Certificates of Deposit, explaining interest rates. This looks like it's explaining the interest rates of different certificates of deposit, so it seems like a good article for the paper that I would be writing. So I'd read over it more probably, but I'll copy and paste the link to it into the Word document so I can look at it more later. And then I'll go back to the result list to find more articles. I'm going to do an advanced search so that I can search just by that the title has certificate of deposit in it, because it seemed like I was getting a bunch of articles that just had certificate of deposit as a keyword instead of the title. And this looks like it's more relevant. And then I'm going to limit it back to full text and scholarly and peer-reviewed articles. there's that same article. I'm going to click on this one, a new look at certificates of deposit, because that seems really relevant to the topic. This one, I keep seeing dates from 1966, so I'm probably not going to use this one because it seems really old, and I don't need old information about certificates of deposit in the paper. I forgot to select the dates. That's why I'm getting the old articles. So I changed it so that I have a narrower thing of dates. And I'll click on this one. The do equity linked certificates of deposit have equity like returns, because it also seemed to be relevant to certificates of deposit. And it's from 2005, so that's not as old as the other one was. And this seems to be explaining more about specialty certificates of deposit. So I'm going to copy and paste this link because it's not about broad certificates of deposit, but it still has a bunch of information about them, it looks like. I'll go back to the results. It doesn't look like there's too many more articles that are relevant to certificates of deposit on here. So I'd probably just look over the ones that I had, and if there's any information gaps that I noticed in the articles, I'd look up what I didn't have in the sources that I've already located. And I guess that's it.
I'm doing a paper on cloud computing for an IT class. I first open up Google Chrome and type in cloud computing. Then I look through the search and I type in the advantages of cloud computing. I use Google because it's usually the fastest way to search stuff. I open up the tab for Amazon. What is cloud computing? Most of the time when I find a good page, I'll just save it as a bookmark so I can come back to it later. Saving it as a bookmark also helped me keep it so I can make my bibliography page later, so I don't have to memorize everything. I also pick pages that's usually more, if I'm doing a project about technical stuff, I'll pick pages from things that has to do a lot more with technical things, and mainly tech websites that may have different forums and things to see other people's opinion about the thing I'm writing about. I also search the benefits of cloud computing benefits, and there are scholarly articles that Google have cited. Springer link, and it just gives me a chance to buy a chapter out of the book or look at the abstract for it. Sometimes they give out little outlines and tell us what the paper is actually about. Another tool that I used at my old school was Galileo, where it had a lot of peer review. I chose the first link. Actually talks about how cloud computing came along and the start of it, which probably be good. And it's come from a dictionary. I mean, not a dictionary, a encyclopedia. So that's a reliable source. And I think it's easier to cite things from Galileo because they already give you everything, like the name, the author who read it, and the source that they got it from. also when I search things, if it's a big list, and I want just specifically that one thing, I'll put surround it in quotes, and Google will just search those terms inside that in the quotation marks. So it kind of like narrows the field, which gets helpful if you're doing the research and you have a question, and it'll search something that may have that exact question in it. Also, go to multiple websites and search the same thing. So, like on this page, there's like top 5 cloud computing security issues. I'll look it up on another site also and see that's if that's somewhat of a valid um, group of